All right, buddy. Kirk Anderson here with Bill Teese of WJJ Company. We are going to take a little bit of time today to talk about some things that are going on in the economy and in general. We're going to be talking about doing business in a global pandemic, and we're going to talk about some struggles that businesses are facing in a time of uncertainty, and that as people jump in, or if you watch later, you will actually take a minute to leave a comment, connect with us online, and see if there's a way for us to answer your questions. My name is Kirk Anderson. I own a business in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. I am a social media manager, an online creator, so I create video and produce videos for clients. I also design websites and do consulting with companies that want to take their business to that next level of success online. And so that's what I do. I'm also a father of 5 kids and a husband to Shara. We live in getting feedback from someone that the reverbed on video. So let me see if that works better. Ben can hook me up. So there's also my wife and I have 5 kids, and I'm on the city council in St. Croix Falls. So I'm currently running for mayor. So that's me in a nutshell. Bill, why don't you introduce yourself and tell just a little bit about your business?
Sure. Thanks, Kirk. Happy to be on with you today. And hopefully, if people find this something to be enjoyable, maybe we can do it more in the future. I don't know about you, but I won't be stuck at home for at least up until the 24th of April or whatever the stay at home is. And for those of you in Minnesota who might be watching, it sounds like you're going to be joining us pretty quickly. So I am the owner of WJE Company, LLC. I'm a business consultant based out of St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. I live in Dresser with my wife, Jill, who is a general surgeon at St. Croix Regional Medical Center. I have 2 small daughters and a son on the way in June. So as you might be able to tell, a little bit of a stressful time here in the Teese household. So I'm hoping that my experience and some of the things that I've done and we are doing in our family are things that you can do in your business, in your family. I work with a lot of small, either husband and wife teams or small teams that are all kind of going through this uncharted territory together. So I am a little nervous about what the future holds, like many of you, but I'm also know that in times of gigantic upheaval, like we're going through right now, gigantic strides can be made for you personally if you just are able to stay focused on what you're doing and react to the circumstances. Because right now the pressure and the stress can be pretty intense, and quite frankly, they can bury you. Nobody is immune to that.
All right. Well, thanks for being here with me, and I certainly look forward to more opportunities to do this. It's been great to know Bill just as a business person, but also as a friend. Bill moved to the community with his wife and bought the house of our former best friends that moved away, and so they're great friends. And it's been great to know Bill. He's helped me out with my business. He's also helped out me from the city council perspective as we've kind of gone through a lot of question marks with some projects and given a lot of free advice to the city. And in this time of uncertainty, certainly I think he's a valuable asset to our community as well. Bill also was the president of the Falls Chamber of Commerce and gave us
still vice president. They won't let me leave.
You're still there, so that's great. So today we wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in our economy and just in our world. As everyone probably knows, we're in a global pandemic dealing with this COVID-19 issue. And if you've watched the markets at all, now today's different. It's actually gone in an upward swing, which is a positive thing, but we've watched it drop from 29,000 down to 18 or 19,000 and back again. And so in this time of uncertainty where some of us who have small businesses are concerned, we have to deal through some of those questions. We have to deal with maybe spouses that are a little nervous. We have to deal with kids that are home now full time. And if we've moved our office home like Bill has, he has to, try and get work done while his kids are running around. And so those are some things that are, we're facing as a small business culture. And I think they're worth putting out there and just letting people know that you're not alone, and letting people know that there are opportunities for you to grow through this. So, Bill, what are some things that you're seeing from your perspective as you've talked with your clients? You have a lot of clients that you do consulting with. What are they seeing right now?
Right. Well, the big thought right now is, since we have these, stay safe at home in Wisconsin and maybe a shelter in place, or I'm not sure how they're going to deem it in Minnesota. The big buzz is what is essential and what is non-essential. And I think there's some pretty good guidance on that on the different state websites. But the name of the game through all of this is, because it's March Madness, and March Madness isn't happening, and normally we would watch basketball, the great Jimmy V, survive in advance. So not to get too dire, but the name of the game right now, if you're a small business owner, or even if you're a big business owner, is survival. And what does survival look like? Just either in the wee hours of the morning or earlier this morning, the Senate passed what is essentially, they're calling a $2 trillion stimulus package. Now, inside of that package, there is billions and billions of dollars for small businesses, some of which the guidance hasn't fully come out what it's going to be, but I fully expect some of that to be forgivable. So if you are a small business owner and you are wondering, should I turn the lights off? Should I just shut it down for a month? Can I handle shutting it down for a month? Do I have enough cash to do it? Now, let's put restaurants aside. I'll have some specific advice for the restaurant hospitality industry. But if you are outside of that sector and you're thinking, should I shut it down? I would really encourage you to wait just a second. Wait for this guidance to come out of exactly how these loans and grants are going to work. And quite a bit of it, quite frankly, you might be able to get money from the government, which philosophically is not something that I generally support. But in this time, if the government's telling you, you cannot operate your business, then I think it's probably incumbent on that same government to at least provide some loans to you or grants to stay in business. So I would keep a close watch on that SBA website. I actually tried to click on the link to apply for a loan myself just to go through it so I could advise my clients. And unfortunately, it was down today.
Down for maintenance.
So it's down for maintenance. That's not a day you want that when you're trying to push it out. But
how many government websites have we seen fail because they're down for maintenance and they don't work properly?
Well, when you're talking about, like, I think the numbers from the state of Minnesota was they were like 2,800 unemployment claims a week, and they did 50,000 in one day.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be applying for those loans, and it's I really appreciate that you said that you are taking it slow and not recommending that people make any spur of the moment decisions. I used to teach Dave Ramsey's course, and that was really helpful for my wife and I. We were able to get rid of a lot of our consumer debt, and we don't use credit cards. We don't have debt other than our house. So we're in a, we're in a fairly good position, but our income is, both of us are self-employed. Right. In Dave Ramsey, he talked a lot about the need for taking time to make financial decisions after a catastrophic event. Your husband or wife dies, you lose your job. He said, just take a moment to breathe, get some advice, spend some time in prayer,
don't make spur of the moment decisions. And I'll tell you, Dave Ramsey talks about spenders and savers and nerds and whatnot.
Right.
I am like the not worried about it type. My wife is the opposite of that. She is the nerd. She does the budgeting. She gets nervous about these types of things. So immediately she's like, what are we going to do? How are you going to recoup what's going on? And so we've had that discussion, and it's been interesting. And taking some time, getting some advice, taking a gauge of where the president, where the Congress, all those different things are really important. So,
right, I would agree. Being that we live on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and we're so close to the metro area, you and I, a lot of the information that I follow closer is stuff coming out of the Twin Cities metro area. And it seems like maybe Minnesota is just a touch further ahead on some of their small business stuff, but I have no doubt that the Wisconsin legislature will be crafting similar things to help people get through. But again, it's important. I agree wholeheartedly, Kirk. It's important to just take a breath. And we've never seen anything like this before. So first of all, anybody that tells you, "Well, I've seen this before and I know exactly what to do," they're lying. We've never seen this before. Everyone's guessing. Financial advisor shared with me some models that they were seeing for how this pandemic might play out. No one knows. The answer is no one knows. No one knows if our hospital system is going to be overwhelmed. We're praying that it doesn't. We're taking these drastic actions to do that. My wife is a frontliner in this fight. Yeah. And Kirk, I know, you have that first responders, duty too. This is the real deal. Yeah. So there's like a serious health component, and we would be remiss if we didn't kind of take that into our thought process too. And if your business is going to stay open, the safety of your workers is something that just has to be on the forefront of your mind. How are you making it safe for your workers to come to work and get things that are done that need to be done? Because we can't stop. Like the grocery stores can't stop. Truckers can't stop. They have to keep moving produce. They have to keep moving goods and services throughout the United States. And with, 150 million or whatever people it is with these stay-in-place orders, it's difficult. Yeah. It is no doubt difficult. Not impossible, though. When you look at different times of upheaval, I did not live through the Great Depression, nor did I live through World War II or the Vietnam War even. But I do remember 2008 and the crash pretty dramatically. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there watching the stock market tank, watching the different financial institutions go under and thinking this might be the end of the financial world. But as you look back on it, we got through it, and I believe we'll get through this. And as you look back on it, there definitely is an opportunity in the midst of all the chaos to make yourself better, to make your organization better, and to prepare yourself for what is going to be on the other side when we get through this. It's easy to get bogged down in the here and now. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on that and you shouldn't take care of your health, your family's health, and make sure that you can survive. But you also need to be planning for what's ahead, because we will eventually reopen it, whether it's a few weeks, a month, a few months, or whatever. The economy is going to reopen at some point. And if you're a small business owner and you're struggling to get through, how are you going to improve yourself so the new improved version of yourself comes out the other end?
Yeah, I think those are really good points. And I took a couple notes down, and it's worth mentioning. One of the motivational speakers that I listen to is Brandon Bouchard. He's a big time business guy. He's got a great podcast. And in his last little thing that he sent out, he urged people to do three things, and we'll touch on them throughout the conversation, I think. But the one thing that he talked about is that it's urgent to skill up, and that right now we need to, as a business community, take this downtime to prepare ourselves, to better ourselves, to read the books that we want to do, right. Start thinking through the steps of how we're going to be better at what we're doing when we're done. And I think that that's something that I've dusted some books off the shelf I haven't had time to read. And so I've got a stack of books that I'm trying to read. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm kind of reinventing the wheel as we go. Yeah, there's your stack of books.
Here's my stack. I'll get it up to the camera so people can kind of see it closely.
Excellent. Yep, I recognize several.
All good stuff there.
I think that, you know, right now is the time to not panic. It's the time to get motivated to move forward. So skill up. You know, get to the point where you're seeking help on how do you bring your business to that level where online is not scary. A lot of churches these last 2 weeks have had to figure out, how do we do online streaming? They've put it off for a long time, and suddenly they're experts. And they're doing their churches online because of necessity. Right. And you talked about
I can give you two more real easy examples.
Yeah, go ahead.
So St. Croix Regional Medical Center has been talking about launching or figuring out how to do telehealth. I think almost for the better part of 3 years, multiple years for sure. And suddenly, when there's a pandemic where, you know, your breath, the vapor in your lungs can make other people sick, suddenly you don't want people coming in the hospital. So it was a combination of some, you know, red tape got cut by the federal government, and suddenly, I don't know if it's operational yet, but within a week it will be. You will be having most of your or most of your non-emergent encounters will likely be something like this, you know, either over the phone or through a video chat. Another one of my clients, who actually is a business partner now, I'm a business partner with, Three Arrows Coffee. 2 weeks ago, we didn't have an online ordering system. You know, when it first hit, it was like you had to call in. It was kind of a mess. Well, guess what? You find out real quick if there's an app out there.
Yeah.
And you import your information into it real quick, and you figure out how to make it happen. And it's in these times of adversity that you just move. You don't get it. You're not paralyzed by indecision, because if you aren't decisive, you know, specifically in the, you know, restaurant hospitality industry, if you aren't shifting dramatically. I have another very good friend who is mostly dine in, and he's struggling. He's trying to figure out, how do I keep the lights on? I mean, it's a tough deal, but you survive and adapt, and you just keep doing it. You instead of being crushed, you know, you use this stressful time to springboard your business forward. So when you come out, now you can put the other part of your business back together, you know, and you have this other part, like the hospital will have telehealth. So they'll be able to do that. Maybe they'll be able to deliver service better now to people that are shut in, and they'll figure out the technology will get better. They'll figure out how to do it, and it'll be better. It'll be better for the customers. It'll be better for the community. So how can you, what can you do in your business? What skills do you need to develop in order to find that thing that can propel you forward?
Yeah. Adversity breeds innovation. And I think that's a powerful statement. You know, in my technology consulting, I a lot of times try not to reinvent the wheel if I don't have to. Sometimes there's things that are just not available. You do the research, nothing's available. But generally, there's a lot of things that are available that if you take the time to look and do some comparison shopping, you can find a solution that works and is affordable. I always talk about, you know, if you reinvent the wheel, it's going to cost far more money to create an app if you're just creating it for yourself. And so if you can find something as a consumer, a restaurant or a business that is going to use those apps, that's the best way to do it. But if you are somebody who wants to develop a product to sell to others, you want to own that copyright, or you want to own that trademark and be able to sell it and utilize that. And there's great ways to develop apps. So if you have $1 million idea and you think that it's worth doing, talking to someone like Bill or myself, where we can kind of walk you through that process and develop that. There are app developers that we can work with and create. And that's how Poco Loco is able to do online orders. That's how
Right.
Three Arrows is. That's how probably a lot of restaurants are, because someone went through that expensive process and now they are collecting monthly payments for users to be able to do that.
Right.
Users being the owner of the restaurant, who pay a small fee. So those are some really good points there. What other types of things are important from your perspective on this?
Well, those of you that know me, I always, with my clients and, when I've managed things in the past, it's, your attitude can control a lot. I noticed personally that I was consuming way too much news, and it was overtaking whatever I did. It was too much information coming in about this coming COVID crisis, what was happening in other places, and quite frankly, it freaked me out. And if you follow me on Facebook, you know that I posted about it the other day, and thankfully my wife peeled me off the ceiling, and all is well. But it's just a reminder that we can't control our circumstances. You cannot, no matter how bad I want to, I cannot control it. The only thing I can control is how I react to it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'm not even sure I can do that. So that is a life lesson, and that is a business lesson as well. Control how you're reacting to the situation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For some people, this is dire. If you are in a business that relies on like daily cash flow, like I'm thinking retail shops, especially in our area, I saw in the Sun that a business said they're closing for good. That's it. They were barely hanging on, and that's it. And unfortunately, I don't think it'll be the last one. And my heart goes out to those people, people that are entrepreneurs that have kind of, laid it all out there, and they have tried to invest in a community, and you fail. But you still, if that's the decision, that's the decision, and that's okay too. But you really have to think through how am I responding to this, all this stimulus that is coming in, and how do I make a good decision? You got to have your financial numbers in order. All my clients know that. That's the first thing I say. How much money do you make? How much money do you spend? You got to know that. How much money do you go through in a month? I mean, this is a personal budget thing too. Unfortunately, millions of people are going to be unemployed or are unemployed because of this thing happening. Understanding your numbers and how much money you need to make things happen is important. Once you have defined what you need, then it's less scary. You stare at it, you can make good decisions, you know how much money you need to make, and then you go about figuring a way to bridge that gap, whether it's online ordering, whether it is laying off part of your workforce, whether it is moving what was a retail business to an online business and selling that way. Right. But you have to make that change. You have to be able to adapt, and you have to use focus to do it. Because if you get weighed down by this news, and I'm not making light of it, right? I mean, this is heavy stuff. This is unprecedented. Some people are talking 30% unemployment. I mean, that's unheard of in our nation's history. So it really is. Again, you just have to control yourself. And sometimes I'm living hour by hour, minute by minute on this. Right. And, it's hard to predict what it's going to be like a month from now. But I hope all this action we're taking now to, stay at home, shut it down, means that we can come out of it sooner. Yeah. And businesses can begin to thrive again, and people can get their livelihoods back, their jobs back, and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for employers and for people watching from the outside is just knowing that when you have to lay off those people, it is real people. They're not just numbers. We start to see real families hurting and things like that. And right now is the time to, again, gear up on some skills. It's a great time to reach out to individuals who know how to build websites, online stores, talk about technology and how we can integrate that into a business for success, to make your overhead lower. Right. There's a lot of ways to do that, and each individual company is a little bit different. So I think it's worth the time spent. And unfortunately, so many of us in business spend so much time keeping the wheels running, we forget to oil the gears, and we stick our head in the sand. and don't look at the numbers, because in some way, I think we maybe don't want to know how much it really costs and how much our overhead's killing us. And so
Right.
we skate along until a tragedy happens, or until, an owner gets sick and dies or something like that.
Right.
And then
Right.
it's like, we need this information. And you say, well, I've never even looked at that. I just, money in, money out. And there is no big picture or big plan. And so that's where it's important to have some of that, consulting, someone from the outside giving you direction.
Right.
And
right. No, I agree 100%. I mean, that's my industry, but the reason I started WJE, 4 going on 5 years ago, or is it 3 going on 4? I don't know. Days seem to take months right now, so it's really hard to tell how much time is actually happening. But
right.
It was because I felt that I could provide more value to my clients when I was advising them, not as an employee, but as an outside person. So as a business consultant, it frees me up to say, I think what you're doing is dumb.
Right.
And not that people want to hear it, or that's how I would put it across to anyone, but some people need no people in their life. You need to say, no, this process, hold on, before you implement this thing, let's think about it, and let's talk it through. And that's one of the reasons why, I did a post. If you need help, if you're a small business owner and you need someone to, have an ear, just give me a call or shoot me an email. I personally am not going to be overly charging people, or even if you just need a shoulder to cry on for a minute, just contact me.
Right.
I'll do what I can. If it turns into something longer, we can talk about how to figure that out. But right now it's triage, it's business triage. It's how do we stop the losses and get a plan to move forward.
So one thing that we had talked about, and I should take a break and just say thanks for everybody. We've got a number of people that are watching live, and this is a longer video. Maybe you'll watch the replay, but if you have questions right now, just leave them in the comments and we can throw them up on the screen and take try and answer some of your business questions. But thanks for watching. Going back to Brendan Burchard, one of the things that he talked about is adopting a role model mindset. And
right.
What I think is happening right now is people are in the lurch. They are like really down and out. They're looking at things. You mentioned the news, like turn the news off. There's so much negativity. If you just watch the news, you would think that the world is actually ending instead of just going through a pandemic. Our economy is going to rebound. We are going to get through this. This is definitely not something that's no big deal. It is a big deal, but we're going to get through this. Our economy is going to do better. It may take a little while, but it's the people who have that mindset of a leader that are going to be successful in this. And people are going to look to you as that individual who's the expert, or the person who's calm under pressure, who can handle the stress of this. And that's a trained thing. That's something that you have to decide to do. There is a certain amount of, there are people who shouldn't be firefighters because they scream and run off when there's a fire.
Right.
So there is a certain amount of, but part of that is training, implementing the things that you've learned, making it second nature. And that is the same thing for business, or for leading in government, or doing all those things. So, do you have any thoughts on that as far as how to adopt that forward-thinking leadership model?
Well, I can tell you 100% that right now the world needs leaders more than ever. Whether it's something where you're whether you're a business owner, whether you are a city council person, whether you're the mayor of a small town, whether you are wherever your lot is in life, a church member, someone that's in charge, people need leadership, and they need clear and concise communication. It's imperative. I don't want to make this political, but in Wisconsin, there was just not clear communication with how the shelter in place or the stay safe was going to work this week. And
Do you have
it just
papers?
is. Right.
People were
Right.
asking how they get their papers so that when they get pulled over by the police. I said,
Right.
the police aren't going to pull you over
No.
unless this gets really bad. Like you don't, this isn't
Right.
Germany.
Right. Right. So but that people are listening,
Mm-hmm.
and if what they hear is what they hear, so you have to be very careful and clear in your communication, and you also have to, unfortunately, leave no room for error.
Mm-hmm.
It People are attracted to leadership. Asking everyone that is in my sphere to look around and see who is providing leadership right now, because those are the kind of people that are real leaders. Anybody can do it when the stock market is going crazy. Anybody can do it when there's no issues at all. When it turns into chaos, that's how you figure out who has leadership and who doesn't. Like you said, you're not going to be a firefighter if fire freaks you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys run into the burning building, not away from it.
Right.
So the same thing, local political, where, nonprofits, wherever you land, be a leader and be there. And you talk about skilling up, honing your leadership skills, and paying attention and seeing what good leaders are doing now and what bad leaders are doing now. That can be a valuable skill, especially if you're younger, and something that you can deploy later in your career as you continue to move on.
I think that there's several components, and I'm drawing all of this from Brennan. I'm not trying to steal his thunder, but the third thing that he talks about that is really important, and I don't do it enough, is physical activity to prioritize our wellness, whether it's mental or physical. And I think the physical is really important. The healthier we can be, the more we're going to be able to do, the longer we're going to last in what we're doing. And so I really, I think that we need to adopt those things. We need to be leaders. We need to train ourselves to be able to deal with the stress, surround ourselves with other people who are good leaders. Don't be threatened by the fact that someone else has a good idea and try and take credit or anything. Surround yourself with them, because it's not going to be detrimental to you as a business person to have really good, smart people around you.
Absolutely.
We'll all float together like the economy.
I'm going to tell you another thing. If you're a business owner, a lot of brilliant people are getting laid off right now. So if your business survives, if your business thrives, if you can figure out how to do that, there's going to be a lot of really qualified people that work for bosses that just shut it down that are going to be available when we come out the other side.
Absolutely.
I know that from multiple personal experiences right now, that there will be very qualified, top-notch people that a month ago you never would have had access to. Your company never would have had a chance at hiring them, that you will probably a month or 6 weeks from now.
And it's not something that those individuals should take personally. It, to a certain degree, it's not personal, it's business. Does really make sense. And those individuals maybe did a great amount of work and brought a lot of profit in, but in this specific time, they're just not going to fit into the company. And so they'll get...
If you're deemed not essential in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, California, whatever, you're shut down.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, and unless most small businesses just don't have deep enough pockets to handle it. I mean, that's one of the nice things, I suppose, about working for a larger firm, is that, the Fortune 500s do. They have some war chests that they can thankfully, keep people employed, because we need that right now. We need people employed.
Right.
But a lot of small businesses just, they don't, if they have 3-4 months worth of money saved up, they're way ahead of the curve when you look at, the statistics of how much money most small businesses have.
Right.
So
I think it's funny. I'm going to mention a couple people. Amy said, now we're talking. Amy Sodas, our once local guru on health and fitness,
health and wealth,
moved to California, and so she's been commenting. So we've got people listening from California. We've got Archie, a friend of mine from online, never met, but he's out of state. I think. Are you in Tennessee, Archie? But if you're in the comments and you just want to throw out where you're from, it's great to see people from all over. This is the power of the internet, that we can throw up a live broadcast, talk business, and have people from all over the place commenting. So in that same vein,
Matt Sonatag had a question. He said from Bitworks, Taylor Falls and Forest Lake, trying our best over here to be postured for coming out the other side. Any advice? I've served on boards with Matt before. He's a great guy, and a small business owner, and he is essential, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of in the computer repair and even overlaps with some of what you do, Kirk. But my advice to Matt would be the same to everybody else. Streamline as fast as you can. Protect your cash as fast as you can. Get your invoices in. Send them out as slow as you can. I am advocating of paying all small businesses, paying each other, paying their invoices, and do what you can to keep those going. Maybe stretching people that give you terms, bigger companies that give you terms. Most small businesses you don't get terms with. But I would go through the process of SBA economic, disaster loans.
Mm-hmm.
I know the state of Minnesota has another smaller program that's going to maybe can bridge the gap. I would get all of those things in process right now. You want to be at the front of the line with those, with the ability to have those tools in your toolbox. And I got some information from Tina Smith, and it's kind of what happened with Senator Tina Smith in the state of Minnesota, what happened with some of the stimulus that's coming through. And it looks like some of those SBA loans are going to be forgivable, specifically if they're used to keep employees. So before you lay someone off, see if you qualify for that.
Mm-hmm.
It may turn into a forgivable loan or a grant, and it can keep more people employed and keep your business going, quite frankly. It definitely is. That is the first place that I would be looking. Skinny down as fast as you can, as far as you can. Keep as much cash as you can. But I would be jumping first in line to those loans as soon as they're available. I would be talking to I would be talking to my banking partners. I would be on the phone with my vendors to make sure, are we going to be able to get parts? Are we going to be able to, even if you need to fix something, this is not just Bitworks.
I would say adding value to your services, whether it's tangible value or educational value. Just today, for Matt, I've received several emails or messages from Facebook of people forwarding on scammy, you've been hacked type things. And something I've always looked to the Bitworks for is information on when hackers are out there, what viruses are out there, how to protect yourself. And so adding that value so that people think of you top of mind is a big part of making it so that people want to use your services. I have a computer, Matt, that may be coming over to you. One of my clients who's maybe listening, I saw her name on here earlier. She couldn't get it to start up, and I no longer do computer repairs other than just minimal stuff. And so I send all my clients to you that have broken computers. And that's that relational thing. Matt and I met in a networking group down in Osceola and passed, work back and forth. And so I think that that's a big part of how we're going to come out of this is by going back to the drawing board on reconnecting with people personally and not just assuming we're going to get business for business sake, but actually asking people if they need help. It's been a long time since I've had to go knock on doors and ask if people need websites. It's just always kind of flowed. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I probably need to start reaching out to people and saying, hey, do you need help with this, that, and the other thing? I think it's something that we as a small business owner need to reinvent the wheel for ourselves and try and figure out exactly what's going to work for us. But adding value is definitely a big thing. Some of the other things that I think people really need to figure out right now, and I know Matt's in a good place for this, everyone needs to figure out how to learn online, teach online, and sell online.
Absolutely.
If you're not an online business, if you're just strictly brick and mortar, you're going to have a lot of trouble in the next month or two, and it might be hard for you to recover. Perfect case in point is the coffee shop, the restaurants who now have apps and are willing to deliver. They probably didn't want to be a delivery service, but all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're willing to deliver because our clients are needing that service. So, being able to do that, some of the educational stuff that you can teach others. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? Have you ever thought about doing these live videos and
Right.
educating people? I'm kicking around ideas of different things I can do and experiences that I've had to help my clients and new and old clients, going back through the Rolodex and finding out, I don't really have a Rolodex, but going back and reconnecting with people that I've lost connections with, because all of us have to do that. So that's an important part of that.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. It is simply amazing to think about, Wisconsin and Minnesota, and I know people are from other places and other places that are locked down, have transitioned, both at, the like K-12 level and all, the university, public and private. Like, I don't know any of them that are back in session. They're all essentially saying, you're learning from home, you're learning online.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know how, the hands-on stuff is going to work, and it probably isn't a long-term, solution, but man, you got to figure out how to make it work. And I do feel bad for people that don't have access, that, can't be sitting here with, making this all work, but it's not as hard as it seems. My parents and in-laws can do it, so I'm pretty sure pretty much everybody can do it.
Well, my dad's in his 80s and he's on Facebook, and he connects with all sorts of different things. I think it's a huge opportunity for people at all ages to figure out technology. One thing that I think is typical that I probably should have seen coming is I offered as a service to businesses, and so if anybody's out there looking for this service, I am available for it, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult setting up your company to be able to do this live streaming thing. And then I went to go look at Amazon to get some cameras for clients who need that service. And a $50 to $70 camera is now $300. So if you want one of the high HD quality webcams so that you can do these live video streams, you're going to be paying more money. And I just think that that's the way that business works. Sometimes it's price gouging, but unfortunately it's the reality of things. So if your business, your hospital, your school, your counseling practice, whatever it is, wants to be
Right.
able to do this via the internet, you need a good internet connection. You need a computer that can handle the data, and you need a good microphone and camera. All those things are available on Amazon. It's just a matter of how much you're going to pay for it. And if you can wait 2 months, it'll probably
now you're not going to get it to the middle or end of April, but
right,
because they're doing a great job making sure that the rest of the world that's locked in is getting food and stuff. So
yeah, and if you're probably more likely to get a camera than like toilet paper at this point. So
very true.
Also
a couple of PSAs: stop hoarding toilet paper, people.
Yes,
I mean this is absolutely ridiculous. The food supply chain is strong in the United States. Stop hoarding food. Buy your regular groceries. Please sanitize yourself, wash your hands. And if you're in an industry that has N95 masks, if you're reading it, if you're in an industry that has them, or you have an industrial plant or a carpentry shop or something, and you have boxes of those, please take them to your local hospital and clinic and drop them off and share them. They're in short supply. I'm hopeful that with all the changes that we've made in the United States manufacturing and, turning things around, that those, personal protective equipment will be available for frontline workers sooner rather than later.
Yep.
But unfortunately, there's just shortages in a lot of places, including locally. And I think locally everywhere, not just SCRMC. So if you have those N95 masks, make a donation. I know I have another client that I work with, Marine and Auto Custom Interiors, Carl and Angel. They bought out a lot. You can look at their website and they can tell the story better, but they bought some stuff from a company that was going out of business, and that whole bunch of elastic they really aren't going to use. And they were able to cut it up in, I don't know, hundreds of masks that they can make that people are sewing in the communities. So just, do your part to help out in this too. Being helping everyone get through this, being a community member, that's part of being a small business, right? You're invested in your community.
Yep.
So I would encourage you, don't forget about that aspect either. That's a good deal. And treat each other nice.
Yeah.
We're all under stress, man.
Yeah.
We're under a lot of stress. Go the extra mile to smile and wave. Do not shake hands under any circumstances, but wave. If you see anybody, you shouldn't be out, but be nice.
Yeah, don't shake hands, but be nice. Well, one of the posts that I shared was to support local businesses because they're the ones that are supporting your kids'
right,
t-ball team and baseball team and stuff, and that's really true. Not that your Walmarts of the world don't support things locally. Many times they do through grants and things like that, but in general, right, the back of the t-shirt at the those are places like Schwenk's Meats and the Copy Shop and shipping, right, and handling and whatever business, right, it is. Those are the ones that are doling out dollars, and they're also keeping that money in the economy locally. They're paying wages locally, and it is worth mentioning that supporting them in this time is on the short term going to help them, but in the long term, keeping those businesses in the community after this is over in the next couple months is going to be huge for our local economy. So I would definitely advocate for that. The other thought, there was a question here or a comment from Rhonda. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name, but it says, we are writing post-shutdown business plans and reinventing plans for our clients, adding value to my business and ensuring my clients are first to react. I think that it's
That's awesome.
Proactive. Some of us are doing that now in retrospect, and in reality, hopefully this will cause us to go through like business planning 101 from when we were in college and say, what are those things? What are exit strategies? How do we get some life insurance for owners? How do we protect assets, separating corporations so that if something happens, we don't lose both sides of the business.
Right.
So some of those things are just going back to our education of, getting our degrees in business, which I never did, but I have listened to enough podcasts about it to know that there are things business owners should be doing and many don't do. And so I would highly recommend getting together with a person like Bill, who he will tell you exactly what you need to do. Couple more comments. Bob Rombach jumped in and said, thanks for doing this. Thanks, Bob. I look forward to chatting with you soon. The other thing, too, is Leanne posts, even if your place of employment is considered essential, business is down in most areas because consumers are hesitant to spend right now. And there's certainly some of that. I can tell you that I've gone out to eat far less, not because I don't want to support my local businesses, but because there's a little bit of a germaphobe in me that doesn't want to think about the cardboard box and that kind of stuff. And in reality, every one of the businesses I've talked to are doing so much to keep their space clean, to make sure their employees are healthy, and are doing everything that they need to do to make it safe. But there is a kind of a little bit of we're in the middle of this. And so, if you don't want to eat out, you can always buy gift cards and store those up for after the fact, because that's cash that is in their pocket to keep them afloat. So something to consider there too. Any thoughts on that, Bill?
That's kind of the same thing, but on that, yeah, I mean, we could do just small businesses personal too. So if you are someone who is if your hours are cut, or you used to work at a restaurant, or you used to work at XYZ company, and suddenly you don't have a job, right? It's tough out there. There's no doubt. I just wanted to give a quick update. I've actually been getting these emails as they've been coming in here, and what the Senate passed today is some in the House has to pass it, and then I don't know how quick it would get implemented, but they're talking about a $600 increase for everyone who's on unemployment up to 100% of wages. Mm-hmm. So if you are on unemployment right now, potentially a $600 increase weekly. And then a lot of waiving that goes with that. And then also expanded access to allow part-time self-employed and gig economy workers to access unemployment benefits. Again, this is from Senator Tina Smith, senator from Minnesota. There's small business rescue plan, all kinds of stuff from the SBA. And then there actually is direct payments to working Americans. And these are the bullet points right from Senator Tina Smith. Cash payments for working class Americans, $1,200 per person, and an additional $500 cash payment available per child. Full payment is available for individuals making up to $75,000 individual, and $150,000 married, and then it phases out as you kind of get closer to the 150, and then out completely at 150. So if you're laid off right now, it looks like there hopefully will be some enhancements to unemployment insurance. Mm-hmm. It looks like there will be some direct money coming in. I know that it's a scary time if you, especially if you're, a server is your main income. That's scary. Yeah. That's not keeping the lights on. The other thing, just to quell some fear, is I know in both Minnesota, Wisconsin, evictions are halted. They can't shut off your electricity and water. These aren't necessarily things that have to do with small business, but just if you're watching this and you're worried about, the immediate future, the hope is that, we can get through this and we can get back to work sooner rather than later. And, there is going to be disruption, but hopefully it's minimal. But who knows? So we got a plan. We got to be proactive.
Another comment from Leanne said, exactly, Bill, when a person's income is cut in half, going out to eat feels like a luxury. It has nothing to do with assuming their establishment isn't clean enough. I think that was directed at me. Nope.
No, for sure was directed at you. You're the germaphobe.
Yeah, I'm the germaphobe, which is
funny. Yeah. No, it's about survival. If you're absolutely, and we could probably do an hour on that with, we could bring some other people. I think other ideas. We'll spitball while we're on air here. I think we could get probably somebody from behavioral health at SCRMC to talk about kind of some of the psychological things that we need to worry about of being essentially sequestered for a month. How to stay mentally strong and be aware of signs of, depression or, things of that nature. There's a whole host of things that we could talk about. I mean, I'm getting stuff from the bank that's being sent out, right? I mean, we could get an SBA loan officer. We could get Angela Kazmierski on from Midwest One. Yeah. I'm sure she'd hop on to kind of talk through this and get it spread out. I mean, there's a lot of, if anybody has the things that they want to know about, because we're going to have to we have to figure out how to disseminate information, you can't walk into the bank.
And that, I think that brings up some good points. My goal for inviting Bill onto this conversation was really doing what I do on a normal basis, but bringing it online and under the circumstances, sharing it with anybody who wants to listen. There are opportunities that we're working on and just kind of thinking about as far as doing some education on this from a consulting standpoint. That could be completely online. It could be a group type of a thing through an online portal or one-on-one coaching. And those are things that if you're interested in, or you want to know, you've always had a passion, or you have the $1 million idea and you just need to get a podcast going, or you want to know how to create that app because you have I had a client a couple of years ago who is a hunter, and he had this idea for years of how to record deer noises, like authentic deer noises. And in Wisconsin, you can use a call system, like an electronic call system. And so he created an app called Lethal Calls, and you can download it on your phone and then connect your phone to a speaker that you hang downwind from you in a tree and send authentic deer rattling noises and grunts and all that stuff, and lure the deer through your area. And that's completely legal in several states. He created that. He researched it. He recorded everything. I edited all the audio, built a website, got it on Apple and Android apps stores, and now he makes money every time someone downloads that app. Those are the types of ingenious things that somebody just has to think up. And so if you have that idea, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how to protect that idea and make sure that someone doesn't steal it. Let's talk about how to get it out on the web and how to sell it. I think that, podcasting is a big thing. Bill and I have talked a lot about podcasting. We don't have anything else going on.
All it took was a global pandemic for us to get that idea off the ground to actually do this.
Right. So this will probably be somewhat regular. We're coming up on 56 minutes. Holy cow.
Yeah, let's get off this.
So
no one wants to hear us anymore.
I want to get off, and we'll do this again. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Mark Gilker from Express Employment said, Express Employment can cover workman's comp, unemployment, and all payroll taxes in our services. Thanks for the wisdom, Bill and Kirk. That's another thing. You don't have to take that huge risk of like putting a bunch of people that you're responsible for into your workforce. You can utilize a place like Express Employment and work with someone like the folks over there, like Mark, and they take on a lot of that risk. They're going to make some money. They have to stay in business too, but you can affordably, without having to worry about all that unemployment tax and all the payroll tax, they deal all that. So it is a huge opportunity to expand without having to hire people. I've struggled with when do I add another person on? Because as soon as I do that, then I have to pay all these different things. And when you go through Express, they take care of a lot of that. And so reach out to Mark. He's a great resource for that, and very much appreciate that. Any last thoughts? I have one last thing I want to encourage people with, but if you have any last thoughts, go ahead.
No, man, if anybody that was watching this found this useful and they have ideas on people we could get on or topics that like to cover, like I said, I'm pretty much going to be in my house until April 24th. So if Kirk isn't busy, I'll go live myself, or we can do it together or whatever. We just we're going to tackle this brave new world, kind of as a team, and hopefully we come, hopefully by pushing enough good information out, everyone can come out of the back end of this, better off.
And no pun intended. It was a bad joke. I believe with this split screen that with Skype, I can add one more person to that, and it'd be worth testing if there was another individual who wanted to come on live. We could do a 3-person panel, and so your banker or your senator or whoever we wanted to bring on, potentially we could have 3 of us chatting at the same time, and that might be someone. And yeah, I just saw Mark threw out a name, Terry from the Polk County Economic Development Corporation. I was actually going to mention that because I saw his name in the chamber newsletter from Osceola.
Yeah, let's get him on
talking about the small business loan. And so that's a huge resource locally. Polk County EDC is a great way to learn more about all those loans, and he's an expert in that. so we can reach out to him. But we could do 3 persons and be able to kind of work off of that. So before we go, thank you everyone for who's lasted this long. Let's see, there's 27 people watching live, which blows my mind. And I think there's a need for this.
Hey, you stick everybody in their house. They got to do something.
I know. Just think if we were actually funny or something.
We'll try and be a little less serious on our subsequent podcast.
In all serious though, we will get better at this, and I want to very quickly say heartfelt thanks to a number of people. And Bill, you can chime in on this. You've already said thank you to your wife, who's a doctor. I want to say thank you to all the doctors, nurses, technicians, anybody who works at a hospital right now. You're putting yourself on the line. You're working with, people are sending you PPE that they sewed together because we are so unprepared for this. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I think also we have to thank the restaurants that are staying open and the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many posts of people who work at the grocery store who said it feels like Black Friday. People are so stressed out and they're taking it out on these employees who are just trying to stock their bags. And it's really hard for them to do their job when they're stressed out and they're worried about their family and their wellness. And, we kind of joke about how dirty a grocery store is, or the pharmacy. Everybody's going there sick. Imagine having to work there and dealing with that. So thank you for all those people. Yep. I know you're wiping everything down. I was at Walmart the other day, and employees were wiping everything down and spraying stuff. So I know that they're trying to keep it clean. Thank you for making special hours for older people to get in there early.
Absolutely.
And if you are someone that can help an elderly person, reach out to them and just say, hey, is there anything that I can get you at Walmart? I'm going, not that it's on the shelves, but there are alternatives. Dick's Market, Marketplace, some of the smaller grocers are not as chaotic feeling, pandemic wise. And so, utilize some of those smaller people. Anything you can think of as thank yous?
No, that's pretty much it.
Truckers?
Maybe truckers
for
gosh. Sure. And
truckers, thank you.
And I can have a list, and maybe when we do this next time, we can lead off with thank yous so people can hear it. But it's frustrating to be stuck at home.
Yeah, it is.
It is. I'm not going to sugar. I mean, I'm frustrated by it. I understand why though. Yeah. I do not want our healthcare system overrun. I also want everyone to be safe, and I want as soon as it's reasonable to get back to a little more sense of normalcy. Mm-hmm. But we have to play the hand that we're dealt. So I'm just thankful that there are people that there are people, even you, Kirk, and your brothers and sisters. And I think of all the calls that you guys have had to respond to in the last year. So, we're, the people in St. Croix Falls have just been dealt a lot of heavy blows this year. Yeah. So it's important to be, especially, small communities have this special feel. Lewiston, Minnesota is where I'm from. My parents still live just outside of it, outside of Rolling Stone, which is even a smaller town. But, it's small towns are special, and you have a chance to be in community. And, let's if we all work through this together, we'll get through it. We'll be okay on the other end. If we kind of go down this hoarding, panicked road, it's not going to end well for anybody. We're all in this together. We're all in the fight together. And, let's just be safe, be smart. And, hopefully from time to time, you and I can provide a little bit of entertainment and get some good information passed along to anybody that wants to listen.
Yeah. The police and the fire and paramedics and things like that we're going to keep doing our job regardless of this whole outbreak. From the first responder, like our protocols now have changed, and we're responding much differently, and paramedics are responding much differently, but they're the front line. I mean, it's you can't say thank you enough to those individuals. and coffee shops. I will say,
and coffee shops.
Thank you, coffee shops, Heidi, and all the folks over at Three Arrows, and Tyler. Your coffee is going to save lives. So thank you. Let's call it quits.
All right.
Thanks everyone for being here. We're going to post this online, share it, and leave comments. We'll follow up with you at another time. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, Bill and Kirk, signing off. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks.